All right, so we're going to determine whether lines are parallel, but we have a couple more postulates and theorems to put in our notes. This time we'll look at the converse of the same side interior angles postulate. If two lines with a transversal form same side interior angles that are supplementary, then the two lines are parallel. So what that would look like, a visual of that, if we have two lines cut by transversal and the alternate interior angles are supplementary. So let's say this angle right here is 80, this angle right there is 100. Those are same side interior angles. Here's line L, line M. If those angles are supplementary, which we can see, 100 plus 80 is 180, then that means that line L is parallel to line M. All right, our converse of the alternate exterior angles theorem. So if two lines with a transversal form alternate exterior angles that are congruent, then the two lines are parallel. So a visual of this, if we have two lines and a transversal, and alternate exterior angles are congruent. So here's an exterior angle right there. If that is congruent to the one that is an alternate exterior angle with it, here's line O, line M, then we can conclude that line L is parallel to line M. All right, so let's look at an example where we get to apply some of these theorems we've been putting in our notes. Example 3, determine whether lines are parallel. The edges of a new sidewalk must be parallel in order to meet accessibility requirements. Concrete is poured between straight strings. How does an inspector know that the edges of the sidewalk are parallel? So let me just outline a few things in this picture for you. Here's our sidewalk. I'm just going to say here's one side of our sidewalk. Here's the other side of our sidewalk. How do we know that those two sides are parallel? Well, what we can do is we can cut those lines with a transversal. So I'm going to go ahead and draw in. Here's a transversal right here. Now what an inspector can do is the inspector can measure the angles of the corners of the sidewalk. So let's make a note of that. That's what the inspector can do. The inspector can measure the angles of the corners of the sidewalk. So let's say that the inspector does that. The inspector measures the angles of the corners of the sidewalk and figures out that this angle right here is 53 degrees. And then they measure over here to see that that angle is 53 degrees. Now, if those two angles are congruent, which we're showing that they are congruent, that's what the inspector found, those are exterior, because they're outside of our lines that we're wondering if they are parallel. They are exterior and on alternate sides of our transversal. So those are alternate exterior angles. So because alternate exterior angles are congruent, they're both 53 degrees, that means that the two lines are parallel. That is the converse of the alternate exterior angle theorem. That's what we use to determine that.